George.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How are you?
I am so well. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Good.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, George.
You've got this saying yes thing is, I think, a really interesting way of life.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to have some discrimination.
Yeah.
Do you want to step over that precipice?
Yeah.
No.
That's good.
Yeah. But do you want to take a walk to the precipice?
Right.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think this is a new spirituality. If you think of what the Scientologists were able to accomplish.
Tell me.
In 100, 200 years from
Yes.
now, the Shatnerologists.
I know.
This can be done.
Could be done.
How did you get to a point where you decided to embrace this part of your life? Where you said, I can say yes, and I need to be that guy.
Because I was saying yes, I had to put it into a formula.
You just randomly.
Right. No. Really what I mean is, it's so easy to say no. Yeah, I don't want to go on George's show. I've got to get out of there. And I got a one-man show to do, and I got all this. But yes to meeting you, yes to having the opportunity to talk to you. Who knows where that goes?
Right.
And saying yes to a new idea, to meeting new people, it's easier to just stay home and shut the blinds and blank your life out.
But were you that guy that stayed home before? Were you the guy that, no?
Would it help if I said yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I was.
No, it's almost as if you've there's like two stages of your career, right? There was the one that you had become so famous for, and then there was the resurgence, and the resurgence has been longer than the first one.
In this case, I got a book, a record, a DVD, and a one-man show all in the same month.
At 80 years old.
Who is?
As you get up there, do you think about age at all?
All the time.
Do you really?
Yeah, because people like you remind me.
Because we're so impressed. Let me move your jacket away from your microphone here for one sec. We're so impressed.
Oh, is that the signal you were getting?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to unzip it.
All right.
All right, good.
Well done. I heard I'm going to zip it, and I went, there goes the interview. That's the end of that right there. But because there's this idea that you just seem to be, you've like life's on your side right now, and you're really enjoying the ride.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, at certain times in my life when death was prevalent, when somebody near and dear to you dies, you think for a while, because our minds, human minds, sort of push it away, your own mortality and what people think of after you die, what's going to happen. I mean, and the older you get, the more topical that subject becomes. Yeah. Like it used to be like, oh, well, I'll think about that later. I'm thinking about it now.
So the beginning of this for you was when? Like, when did the real conversation with yourself about this start?
Well, probably about the age of 40. I remember I went to bed for 3 days. Yeah. Couldn't stand being 40. My life is over. What's going to happen to me now? It's all right. Then, age of 80, I sprang out of bed. See, I can still walk.
But in the condition you're in, man, you could go 100, 110. Like you probably.
I'm looking for 110.
Are you? Why do you take so much work on now? You know, specifically the Aftermath show.
In Aftermath, I went back to the people who were affected in the news by the press, and sought to find out what the aftermath was. Right. It was so fascinating. That show is so fascinating to me.
How much of it is connected to your own personal story? When your wife passed away, you got really hammered by the press.
Well, not hammered, but no.
Well, enough questions.
Well, here's what happened with me. My wife died. I wasn't there. I come home, and there she is. Police come, declare it an accident within the hour. A tabloid 2 or 3 days later says to me through intermediaries that they're going to print a story where it was suggested that I had something to do with it. And they wouldn't do that if I gave them an exclusive. Yeah. So I made the decision then. I think I would do it now, but in the midst of grief, you don't know, you're not in your right mind. But I think I would do it now. I said to them, I'll do it, but you have to pay me a lot of money. They paid me a lot of money. I gave that money. We formed a charity, and some of her friends contributed, Noreen's friends contributed, and we formed the Noreen Shatner Foundation for addicted women. And over the years, many, many women have come up to me and said, if it wasn't for the Noreen Shatner Foundation, they wouldn't be alive.
You have a very solid perspective on life. It's funny about humanity that it's real tragedy that helps us focus, isn't it?
Makes us, the latest one is extraordinary. Steve Jobs dies, and his sister writes a beautiful eulogy. It's in the papers in the last day or so. What did Steve Jobs say when he died on his last breath? He said, "Oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow." And he died. What did he see? What was there? How did he read that? How did he read, oh, wow? Was it like the glorious thing that he's seeing? Or was it release of pain? Or what was he saying, oh, wow, to? It's that question, you grab him by the ears. Steve, before you go, what was a wow? Yeah.
All I could think of was, he's a Buddhist. Or shit, are they right?
Right, exactly. Shit, are you right? I don't know. I hope they bleep that out.
No, let it go,
won't.
man.
Yeah,
it's Steve Jobs. But you're right, it's that questioning. Have you figured in your head, have you figured out what you say to yourself about what comes next?
No, but if I say, oh, wow, I'm going to explain it to you.
You better do that. Stick around. We're going to find out the most important thing about Bill that he's learned from raising daughters. Anthropology, a lot to get to with Bill Shatner right after this.
Bill Shatner was my understudy, so he went on as Henry V. And what he did was he didn't do what I did at all. When I stood up to make a speech, he would sit down and do his speech.
He did the opposite of you.
He did the opposite of everything I did, and I knew that son of a was going to be a star.
We're back here with William Shatner. This is Christopher Plummer.
Yeah. So Chris, who has become a dear friend, is one of the great Canadian talents, and I followed him. I was behind him all the way through his career. Everywhere he went, I was a year or two behind, made my way. Finally went to Stratford and was his understudy. And what he doesn't say is that I had never rehearsed it. I had never done it. I had never spoken the words out loud. I was an understudy, and we were a week or two into the opening of Stratford.
Right.
So there were no understudy rehearsals. I didn't know the names of some of the actors. Didn't know that. I'd never spoken the words out loud. So the reason I sat where he stood and stood where he sat was I didn't know where he was. I was just the muse touched me, and I stood and sat and walked and ran and spoke and didn't because I didn't know what else to do.
When did because there's public perception of what you are. At a certain time when you become famous, you are this guy. How big a gulf was there between the guy they thought you were and the guy you were?
The Gulf of Alaska.
That big?
No. The public persona, whether it's somebody young who is themselves but plays, I'm thinking Twilight, the kids on Twilight, they don't know enough to hold up an arm or a mirror so that you don't actually see them. What you're seeing is what they are is what you're seeing, right. I would imagine. And as you get older, even in life, if you meet somebody, you're playing a role of some kind. I'm at ease here, even though it's someone new. I'm okay, whereas in fact you're saying, oh, I hope they like me, and I wonder if my fly is buttoned, So you're always holding up a mirror. Everybody holds up a mirror or a shield. So as you get older and in my case get known for certain roles, they think that's you.
Right.
So that's the public persona. The real person is partially that, and then partially this private person who...
Is this one-man show? Is this a chance for you to be you?
It is magic to me that I can entertain an audience for that length of time by myself, and Alan Cross is with me, to make my life, some of the things that have happened to me, to make them entertaining enough to have an audience stand up and cheer at the end.
Is it, even though you're going to live for at least 30 more years, it's kind of like you're eulogizing yourself.
Well, in a way, in a way, everybody does. They don't realize it. Yeah. Steve Jobs, to use him as an example, because we've already talked about him, didn't know that when he stood on stage in his black T-shirt and his jeans, talking about the iPhone, didn't realize that those pictures would be part of his eulogy.
Right.
So we're all eulogizing ourselves because we never know when we're going to go.
You've got another record. I mean, this has become the best part of your career in one weird way.
George, this record is now, I believe, is broken the 100 mark,
Billboard.
whatever that means on Billboard. Never, for me, never done before. It is called Seeking Major Tom,
Right.
and has 20 of the greatest musicians alive today. Maybe not the greatest, but among the great musicians.
You have Richie Blackmore on this.
And Brad Paisley and Sheryl Crow and Lyle Lovett and geniuses making what I do, the spoken word, in effect, musical. And I'm proud of it, and it's getting popular, and it's out there.
One thing I wanted to get before we close up is the idea of raising daughters.
Raising daughters.
How have you been at that?
How have I been?
Yeah.
If the results of them being wonderful, intelligent, happy, humorous souls, then I've done well, because that's what they are, my daughters. And save the applause, because the next part is, and they're bringing up children that are like them. So by osmosis, I guess, I to the grandchildren.
So he's got the book, Shatner Rules. As you know, we've got the record, Seeking Major Tom.
DVD of The Captains.
Right.
Is out there as well, and the one-man show.
Got a lot going on. The one-man show, November 3rd in Toronto, November 4th in Montreal. Thank you so much for being here.